Can we start with the news about Luis Suarez's contract then? You must be absolutely delighted.
Yeah, absolutely. He's, for a number of reasons. One, it was obviously been a difficult period here for him last year, but it's a new beginning, and it's brilliant that he's obviously committed to our vision going forward. He's one of very few world-class strikers, and I think first of all it's great for the supporters. You know, I think he's shown the loyalty to them and the club, which is great, and his teammates. Of course, it's brilliant for myself to have someone of that quality that sees the way forward here and is excited to be a part of that. And I also think it's great for the Barclays Premier League. When you've got world-class players, you certainly don't want to see them coming out of this great league. And for someone like Lewis to be here and to stay here is fantastic for the country and the supporters. So I'm, as you can imagine, I'm delighted and I'm very pleased.
You mentioned the tough time he had last year. What have you seen in his makeup of his character in terms of how he's dealt with that and how he plans to go forward?
Well, I've had a lot of communication with him, even though he's only been here for a few days. And I've got to say, I can only judge him on what I know and what I've seen. And he's been an absolute breath of fresh air for me. He's a guy that he loves his football. He loves his football. His passion for the game is fantastic. You just see in these first couple of days, he just loves being on the field. You know, he's a little kid. You know, he loves to play, and that's the types of players you want. I speak to the medical people here, and they said that the only day you'll see him in the treatment room is in the first day when they're doing all the medical testing, and because apart from that, no matter what the weather conditions, he wants to be out on the field working and improving and getting better. So for me, he's been great. He's got a lovely smile, and he's a good guy, and importantly, he's a top-class player as well. So I'm really looking forward to working with him and hopefully helping him improve his game and taking him forward.
And we were hearing reports that several other clubs were interested in trying to sign him. That must have been a concern for you. I mean, how strong were those overtures, if you like?
Yes, very. Obviously, I was only in the door, and I was made aware straight away. I was actually on a break, and I'd seen a fax that had come in from another club. So it was they were genuine. There was genuine interest in him, but like I said, we spoke a lot. I think he's got his heart here at Liverpool, and like I say, it was an easy decision in relation to him because he loves the club. You know, I think it's obviously when there's a change of manager, there's always uncertainty maybe, but I tried to make it clear to him in a number of conversations and just keeping communication with him throughout the off-season, so that at least when he came back, he had felt that he had known me a little bit, you know. So it was, as I said, it's a very important signing for the club. He's still young, still got his best years ahead of him, and I'm delighted he's committed them to here.
How is that likely to affect the position of maybe one or two of your other strikers here? Because obviously we know about all the interest that there was in Andy Carroll, and also we know about the interest maybe from Cardiff in Craig Bellamy as well.
In terms of Andy, like I said, when I first came in, I had a conversation with Andy on where I thought he was at. And I think between now and the end of the window, then there's going to be players feeling a little bit maybe unsure, insecure, a new manager, and more players to come in. So I expect that. But I've got to say, Andy's been terrific. He knows exactly where he stands. You know, he's like every player and have to fight for the position. And you can't come to... There's not many clubs you can go to and be a guaranteed starter. But there's not many top clubs that you come to and you're a guaranteed starter. And I understand Andy wants to play games, but he also really enjoys it here. And like I said, I've had a number of conversations with him. So we'll just see now how that develops. But certainly by when the window shuts, whatever players are speculated about, by the time the window closes, everyone has to be focused purely on being here. There can be no regrets about not going, if you had a chance to go on loan or not. Every player needs to be focused on the job in hand here. And certainly the likes of Andy, from what I've seen, that has been the case. In terms of Craig, I had a real good meeting with Craig a few weeks back, just before I moved up here. he's a guy that he's a big Liverpool supporter. But I also understood his thinking, where he was at. You know, he's 33 years of age. He's travelled around the country all his life, while his family's been based elsewhere, and so we've been in talks with him and obviously with Cardiff in terms of a possibility of him going back to there. And like I said, it's not him crying to want to leave Liverpool. It's more in sort of compassionate reasons, really. So we'll have a look at that and see how that evolves over the next couple of days. But like I said, he's a good player, Craig, and I understand his feelings in terms of where he's at. And if it's the case that he moves on, then we will wish him all the best and move forward.
Do you see the possibility of other players perhaps leaving as well? I mean, Daniel Agger, supposedly an interest for Manchester City.
Not really, not. Daniel's a top player, and any manager will tell you they don't want to lose their best players. But I suppose that every club, we've seen it throughout, you know, every player has a price. But for me, Daniel's a player that he's a top-class professional. I've really enjoyed working with him and speaking with him a lot in these last numbers of weeks since he's been in. And you're going to have your top players linked. But certainly for me, I'm in no, as I said, I'm not forced to have to sell anyone, which is, as I said, which is important. And Daniel is a very, very important player for here. So like I said, we'll see what happens between now and the end of the month. But certainly for me, he's getting back up to speed. He's a good guy. He loves the club here. Loves the supporters. Been here, I think 7 years now. So he's really focused on his work here. But like I say, you can never say never, and I'm a realist as well. So we'll see where it goes between now and the end of the month.
Are you trying to concentrate maybe more on bringing players in that you want? I mean, are you thinking of maybe going back for Joe Allen, or are you interested in Juan Manuel Vargas at Fiorentina, as reports are suggesting?
We've been linked with an incredible amount of players, I've got to say. I've got to be honest, some players I've never even heard of, if I'm being honest. You know, so there's a lot of people doing a lot of work out there. I'm very reluctant to speak about players at other clubs. I know I've got a bit of work to do here. We need to improve the squad. There's no question about that. But unfortunately, it takes that wee bit of time. It's not as easy as maybe what some people think. So, especially when you are a club of this status. So, always it's a little bit more complex. But certainly, the intention is to bring in a few more players yet. And like I've always said, I'd love them to be in here sooner rather than later. But the most important thing is they're here by the end of August, and then we'll know the group that we're working with through until January at least. So, but we've got some very good players here. You know, I want to give a lot of the players here a chance. I know I needed to bring in a number of players just to even replace the ones that have left. But like I say, this is a club where people want to be at, and for me, like I say, there'll hopefully be a number of those will come in over the next couple of weeks.
How much do you think you can learn from your squad in games like this against KoPPang?
Well, last week we were only 4 weeks, literally 4 weeks into our pre-season before we had our first competitive game. And I've said we've still got a lot of improvements to make. There's no question about that. If people expect us to come in here and after 4 weeks to be playing fast, flowing, fluent, dynamic football, then that won't be the case. That takes time. You know, there's a lot of work that goes into making a team play that way. And unfortunately, that time isn't 4 weeks. It's going to take longer than that. But certainly, what is important for me was the perseverance of the team. I'm really pleased with the openness and the honesty of the group. Every single day since I've been in here, they've given me their life. Every day. There's never been no one that has not given everything every day in training. And now that is a great platform to have. If you've got players with heart and character and talent, because at this level to be successful, you've got to have talent. Hard work isn't enough. Now the hard work's an obligation for me. It's not a choice. That is a part of what you have to be good at anything, but in particular at one of the leading clubs in the world. So that is the obligation. But like I say, they've shown great appetite for the game, great enthusiasm, and like I say, we'll improve and get better as we go along.
Just finally from me, if I may, I don't know whether you've been watching the Olympics much at all over the last couple of weeks at all, but what's struck a lot of people about that is the excitement and the enthusiasm and the sportsmanship that's come out of the Olympics. Do you think other sports like football can maybe take a leaf out of that book?
I think the Olympics has always been that, it's really participation, and winning is obviously important, and it's different. You have the Olympic Village where you've probably got maybe about 5,000 athletes in and around that, so it's totally different in terms of football. But I think the whole ambience and the excitement over the last number of weeks, it's been incredible. You watch the cycling, and Chris Hoy yesterday was absolutely phenomenal, and for him to get that 6th gold medal, and you just see that extra bit of effort he had to put in. I listened to him last night on the TV talking about how he felt maybe the race was getting away from him in the last bend, and you see visibly that extra 1% he had to put in to make sure he got round the corner in the lead, and then he went on to win it. And that's the difference in any sport, so I'm sure footballers and other athletes will look at that alone as an example, that you have to do that little bit more to succeed, and to be a success, and you have to earn it. And I think what we're seeing in the Olympics is an incredible achievement by all the British athletes, which is fantastic, and I'm sure there's plenty more to come.
Thanks, Brendan.
Just a couple, if I may. You talked about the love that a lot of the lads are showing for the club. Has your love affair started yet with this place?
You're romantic, eh?
I've got a rose for you as well, but I left it behind.
Listen, this is a club that as soon as you walk in, you get a real sense of what it's about. I've been given an incredible welcome here. But sentiment is important, but it doesn't wash with me so much. I need to win games. But this is certainly a club that, like I've always said, most clubs, you go to in your career as a manager, you may look at other clubs, but this is a club that really has a destination. It's a club you want to be at, and for me, it's phenomenal. From the outside looking in, there was always that, the real passion and that you see with the supporters and the city, and it was a real iconic club. But once you're inside it, it's even better than that. The real sense of the support, going to America, and it was like being at Anfield every game. It was incredible, and you just really feel how big a club it is. And for me, it's an honour for me, tomorrow night to walk out at Anfield and in my first game there. It's going to be an incredible privilege for me to do that. But my focus will be to win the game. That will be the most important objective for me on the evening, and look to try and get Anfield a real cauldron of a place to come and play.
And I don't know if you'll know the answer to this one yet, but just as far as the next generation of Liverpool players, we've seen an awful lot of great potential coming through the ranks there. How are you as far as blooding them, as far as getting them on to that next stage? Do you know yet?
Yeah, we have talents, but it's quite complex in terms of when you put young players in. First of all, they have to be good enough, and there's a number of talents here, there's no doubt, but I don't want to put them under pressure as well. We're in a situation where if the player's good enough and he has enough personality, age is irrespective to me. I think we had 10 under-18 players with us on the American tour. The young boy from Northern Ireland, Ryan McLaughlin, made his first appearance against Totti, and he's been called up to the full national squad now, which is fantastic. So for me, it's about talent and personality, and I've got to look at that, and